6, how about that?
What?
Budget line item,
No, wrong one, Rick.
wrong one.
This one here.
On the
You gotta
back
flip that
side.
other page over. The back, see the back, I think it's probably over there.
Oh,
They're double-sided.
Yeah,
I'm glad I said that
she's
then.
frugal.
Good.
Right back, I like it.
It's the same amount, that's why it's,
So this is text.my.gov is the responsibility of E911?
no, but they can use it if they decide to. It's not their, I mean, they had some kind of notification system that they were getting some money for that they're not using, Nixle, that they weren't using, so I don't know if this is the same money or not, but for some of that.
They had one they weren't using, and now we're gonna have another one that we aren't gonna use, or are gonna use, or what?
I guess that's to be determined.
What was wrong with Nixle?
I don't know anything about Nixle.
I don't know anything about this, other than, I mean, what it is, I guess.
I haven't heard anything. I know
Is this like a sheriff's department? Is this something that the sheriff's department uses, or what is it?
The sheriff's department can use that. My understanding is it's gonna be available to
Everybody, all
all the
offices.
officers.
So the auditor, say tax bill or the treasurer, tax bill's going out, I can advertise a public hearing that I'm gonna have on April 28th at 6 o'clock down in the auditorium.
And what's that hearing for?
Carbon sequestration, the moratorium.
But it's okay that it comes out of the E911,
Yes, we
E91111 fund.
Yep, we
Okay.
asked for permission.
Yeah.
And gotten from the board and approved.
Okay.
The 911 board.
So this is for first year payment and one-time setup fees. So is it gonna require annual payments, I suppose? And who's paying that
911.
each year? With what? Because it won't be radio upkeep again, will it?
We'll have to, I guess a budget still have to move it and just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna keep doing transfers every year to pay for it, so it'll have to come from something.
I'll
so.
probably ask for all, I would assume, in budgets.
I would say, I assume.
Yeah, I
budget's
mean,
looking at
budget hearings, but I mean, if they didn't have it currently, so it'll have to be something set up new,
Well,
like a
it
new,
was the new setup fees plus the annual.
Yeah.
So next year it won't be.
that'll be half
as-
that maybe,
Yeah.
or something like that. But I mean, they'll have to have something specifically in the budget to cover that.
We'll have to make sure we have it in the budget somewhere that,
Okay, I'm just saying, so we have, if we had Nixle at one point and it wasn't friendly, or I don't know, some of that stuff's, I don't know anything about it, because I'm a low-tech person.
I believe, yeah, thank you. I believe that this is a tool to help us so-called advertise in the county's meetings, because right now we don't have papers and Facebook. Doesn't get out to everybody. I'm assuming this is a mass notification that goes to all cell phones. So,
Well, cell phones
Or-
are people who are signed up for it.
right, the ones that have them, because not everybody has them. But I mean, it's just another tool that help communicate.
Yeah, I was in on the initial meeting with this, and I think it's a good idea. My question was if we were replacing the other with this, and/or if it was approved that 911, because 911 can only pay for certain things. They have restrictions. That was my question.
Can it be used for emergencies,
As long, yeah,
like tornadoes?
roads
or-
closed, whatever.
Okay.
so Rick, was that a motion for the E911?
Yes, that's what I.
Okay.
I'm glad I mentioned it because I was looking at the wrong paper and I'm thinking
Yeah.
something don't
It's
quite
the
jive.
same amount,
I should-
yeah.
I'm glad I.
Okay. So I have a motion from Rick
I'll second it.
and a second from Mrs. Furry. Any further discussion? Okay. I have a motion from Mr. Weir, a second from Mrs. Furry to transfer $2,500 in the E911 from radio upkeep to mass notification services. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. Transfer is approved. The next transfer also requires a vote tonight. It is from the Highway Department. They are moving $2,500 from the ERC line to $2,500 to the ERC line, but it's going from restricted to unrestricted.
We can
So
transfer
just
from
because-
restricted to unrestricted?
Huh?
Mm,
We can actually do a transfer, BJ, from restricted to unrestricted?
You can do, can't you do one without, you can do one that doesn't require any information and the other has to
I
have
don't have it
this.
in front of me. Where are we going from now?
Restricted to unrestricted?
yeah,
MVH,
yeah.
restricted. One, like, I was at a, don't hold it against me, but I was at a county highway meeting in Indianapolis for county highway officials, and there was discussion through LTAP with Purdue about this, and I thought they said you could transfer from one to the other with no big deal, but you can't go the opposite direction. So I assume by going the opposite, I don't mean you can go the opposite direction, but you have to have approval such as this.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I
Oh,
don't
is
confirm
this-
with state board of accounts, but when I've mentioned about transferring from restricted to unrestricted, she didn't say
Well,
anything.
We can vote on it
Yeah.
pending state board of accounts approval to transfer it, I guess. That way, if they come back and say, yeah.
Is this just to correct an error though?
No.
No, we thought since the
We
ERC is
checked it last
the,
year.
From what it
Last
says
year they
here?
said it was okay.
that's the community crossing grant stuff that deals directly with the roads. And at budget hearing, we thought since it was dealing directly with the roads, it would qualify for being the restricted, because oftentimes we have trouble with the restricted money qualifying to be able to use, it has to be used for certain purposes from the state. And
Oh, okay. I see
so
what you-
they're saying that
Okay.
it doesn't actually qualify for it, so we need to
So
put
we
it in
have to put
unrestricted.
it in
Unrestricted.
Mhm.
See,
But my
res-
question is should we do a transfer or should we actually be an additional? That's my
Yeah.
concern.
I can
Yeah.
confirm.
Well, we can vote on it to approve the transfer pending the state board of accounts approval, and then if they say no, then we'll come back with the
So I would
additional.
think that you
That,
couldn't move it out of restricted, but
I think,
that would be my
Restricted
thought.
is for road construction,
mhm.
road reconstruction, or preservation of roads.
Mhm.
So if any task that you do is related to that, it could be considered restricted fund use.
And that's what I was told last year when we did the budget, that
That's
Right.
where we
could go.
thought
yeah.
the community crossing grant with the ERC person was, since they were over,
That's all that, that's
Overseeing
all that person does,
preservation,
yeah.
pavement preservation is resurfacing, so that ERC, the employee of responsible charge is what ERC means. That person who fills out all of the reports and information that the state wants through the community crossing grant documentation, that person would be doing paperwork or documentation for a community crossing grant, which is preservation, but whether it qualifies as, that's community crossing money, not MVH money, so maybe that's what
Maybe.
the hangup is saying you can't. So is the question, can we use restricted for the ERC?
For
And-
state board of accounts.
This year they're
can't.
saying no, last year they
can't.
said yes.
They're saying
And that's probably because the ERC strictly looks over community crossings money, not restricted motor vehicle highway tax dollars, I suppose.
Okay.
That'd be my take on it, but I could be wrong. And do not quote me.
I would vote on it with the understanding that we'll check, and because it may be that we need additional appropriation.
Okay.
Because I would think that you couldn't just take things out of restricted,
I was gonna say, that's our trouble, is that we,
would be.
this restricted
or else
money,
it's
we
not
couldn't just
truly
spend it.
restricted.
I think you can maybe go the other way, but
You
not.
can put unrestricted
Yeah, I would
money
just-
into restricted if you want, because you have, the key is you have to at least spend 50% of your money on restricted purposes. So if you want to spend 60% of your MVH on restricted, go ahead.
Yeah.
But you can't spend 60% on unrestricted by using 10% out of your
What
restricted.
started that was that we were paying half the salaries of the highway drivers out of restricted and half out of unrestricted, but
You weren't documenting
But we
your
didn't have the
tasks.
correct documentation, because the payroll system is just the number of hours, it's not the number of hours actually on those projects. So we just decided to take all of the payroll and move it into unrestricted, and then we tried to move anything with materials and that into the restricted.
And
But this, since it was dealing with the reconstruction of the roads, we thought
Well,
we were okay with it.
and I will say, I believe I've said it in the past, I'm sure I have, it's on record somewhere in a recording. And I encourage the highway department staff to look into this, but what's considered restricted, again, I said, pavement, preservation, construction, and reconstruction of roads, sounds like three things. But within those three things, there's a multitude of various things. you'd have to look at the list to see, there's a lot of tasks that highway workers may be out there doing that they're not charging to restricted use, and they could be, but that's a tracking issue. So then some of the restricted, I mean, you can use restricted, you can use all of it to pay salary as long as you're doing those particular items.
Right.
But if we don't track that properly, we're missing that. I think it should be tracked. And like I say, it doesn't mean you have to go out and pave a road. You could be, I think there's even mowing, certain things that you could be mowing. Like you might mow along a road all day, but when you come to a bridge and you mow around that bridge, that might be an item specifically, and you could say, I was here 2 hours that day and get paid out of restricted. So I'd encourage they look at it.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve once it's checked with State Board of Accounts?
So we're going from,
Yeah, it's from restricted to,
Restricted to unrestricted.
which I
I
have a
would
feeling
think
is
we
going to
cannot do, but you could approve it pending us double checking on that. And if it doesn't work out, you come back with an additional appropriation.
Next month.
what if we, I mean, what's the consequence if we say we're not gonna approve this transfer request? Then what? They come back next month
Then
and
we
say
just
we
come
gotta do it
next
the other
month with
way?
either the exact same request or the
Additional.
additional.
But what's the
appropriation.
harm of waiting an extra month for clarification versus passing it and then having a problem of we gotta fix it after we passed it?
Nothing.
Someone not getting
Nothing.
paid.
You just have to make the
Documentation
adjustments.
showing that it's been corrected.
Based on what I know, I'm not gonna, I won't entertain it because I don't think you can go from restricted to unrestricted based on what I know.
We
But
can wait and
again,
see
I'm
what
not
they
an
say.
expert, but I think we should find out.
Okay.
And if there's no harm in waiting and making sure, I'd be more than happy to reconsider.
Well, yeah, if you'll check that out for us and then just let us know, and then we can do it in May. So, all right, thank you. All right, that looks like it's the last transfer tonight.
Okay, this is what we need to go back to.
Yeah. So next, we have old business. We have one item. We have the signing, we have to approve the amended salary resolution. These were for the changes we did at our previous meeting. Also, we need to clarify on the health department assistant line, since that one had changed. The Parks Department was changing before they got hired, so there's no retroactive on that one possible. The health department assistant, we need to specify whether that's retroactive to the beginning of the year or not. Because we didn't actually specify that at our last meeting. So I need an approval of the amended salary resolution and also to state whether it's retroactive or not. Which, like I said, doesn't affect the Parks Department because they hadn't been paid yet. So,
And it should have been retroactive because that's how much money that it was last month. And
yeah, that amount we did
Yes.
approve was the retroactive amount.
was
but
retro,
we
it was just not stated.
Retroactive back to what date?
January 1.
January 1.
So, just wanted to make sure we were clear on that.
Did you want these two separate or
You can,
separate?
we can approve them with the, you know, with these pay amounts being retroactive back to January 1. Is that a motion?
That's a
The
motion.
Parks Department, it just begins, so
Yeah.
Right,
It's not
this
retro.
is just the retro.
I mean,
on-
technically, it could be retro back to the beginning of the year because they haven't
been
paid.
They
working.
haven't started.
Right.
So,
But yeah, I'll make a motion for the amended compensation as written with the retroactive for the health department assistant.
I'll second.
okay. I have a motion from Mrs. Furry, a second from Ms. Brown to approve the salary resolution 2025-05. with the retroactive going back for the health department assistant. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, state no. All right, resolution is approved. That is the only old business we had. Moving on to new business. Tonight, our first new item is the health insurance rates. Was someone going to talk about that, or we just need to, what were they asked, what the commissioners wanted us to approve it? Like, to just know that there was gonna be an increase on it?
Approve it at the 22% or at the 19% with the 49,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so the health insurance, our year starts in May, and we did take a price increase on that. We did increase the budget last year, anticipating probably an increase. We've been lucky enough the last few years not to have an increase, but we did take an overall net increase of almost 19%. So they are moving the employee contributions from 93% and 7% to 92% and 8%, and accepting the 22% gross. I mean, there's a $49,000 credit, which nets it out to the 19%. They would just like to make sure that we are aware that there is a possibility that we didn't budget enough for the year and that we may have an additional later, and noting that there is an increase and that we are aware of it to be approve it. So,
Yeah, I did go back and crunch the numbers. I think we're good to December, but we'll have to really look at it during budget hearings.
is there a motion to accept the increase in the health insurance?
So how many did we solicit, other companies?
Are
we working with any others?
you mean the actual, like you're talking United, Anthem,
Yeah.
like those kind?
Yes.
I do not know how many.
He
Brenda,
did.
you know,
There
you're
were-
on the committee.
Yeah, he did. He went out and looked at other options as the broker. And then we've actually had 2 other broker agencies come and request too. And some of the conversations on the committee is that they would kind of like to maybe flip it to January instead of a May renewal. It might make it a little bit easier. I do have some concerns with that myself as deductibles. You know, if you meet your deductible and then you change, and if we do really go out and find somebody else and they change insurance companies, most of the time those insurance companies will eat your deductible, but not always. So if, let's say next year we don't go with Anthem and we go with someone else and you've all met your deductible, and then guess what? You might have another deductible. So it's probably not a bad idea to go January, December. But that's just some of the things that we've have thought about. We've looked at several. I think there's 2 more, and I think considering that we're wanting to flip it to January, I think we're gonna look at these other 2 brokers. But for now, we have to go May, we have to do this. We're kind of behind the 8 ball, so
Which the health insurance
Yes.
companies don't give us a whole lot of time. They only quote it within 60 days of your
yeah,
renewal.
you got
So
2 months to get this together.
it always puts it on a tight
It
timeline.
does.
So what will significantly increase? Anything in particular? Deductibles or
Claims,
just
a lot
claims?
of claims.
And the employees aware of all this?
Did the employees get notified of the change?
Not yet,
Not yet until after
not
you
yet,
approve
not
it.
till we approve it.
Okay. Because the commissioners, I thought, they not approve it at their meeting?
They did approve the 92.8,
Okay. So,
and to go with this, now,
I thought they had
Yeah.
said something about
Yeah.
it. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Kelly.
I don't think we have a choice.
Nope.
Not now.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion for Mr. Somerville, a second for Mr. Weir to accept the overall increase for the health insurance rates and going to a 92.8 All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
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 All those opposed, state no. Motion is approved. Okay. Next, under new business, Sheriff Holtcamp is here. They're looking to purchase a side-by-side UTV.
I just want to let everybody know that we're looking at buying a UTV. It's gonna be paid for out of commissary. It's not gonna be, I'm not asking for any additional money. It's money that we already have, but it's a large purchase, so I wanted to bring it to you, make you aware of it, and answer any questions you might have.
I have a question.
Yes.
Will, because there's, when you buy a vehicle of any sort, you know, there's insurance, there's registration plates. Will we be on the hook for that then?
It'd be, yeah, you have to be insured, yes.
Well, I've just kind of been looking over this insurance thing, and we have so many vehicles, and the premiums have gone up drastically. So and you may need this, I'm not denying that, but I just feel like we need to get rid of every vehicle we don't absolutely need, because the purchase is one thing, you know, but then for years, we've got, you know, plates and insurance, and with these, the horrible increase, you know, everybody's getting it, we're all getting it at home, in our vehicles too. But it's just, you know, there's over $75,000 increase in premiums on vehicles. So my concern is that we just don't need any, you know what I mean? Because we're on the hook for it, you know what I mean? The county is, right? The general fund, most of it taxpayers. So that's just my thinking, that if we don't need absolutely no more vehicles than we absolutely need, because that goes on for years, you know, plates and these are all newer, you know, I have an old vehicle that, you know, and the newer everything is, plates are more, and so that's just my.
Do you currently have one?
No, we don't have one.
You don't have any? Oh, well.
So is this insurance gonna go through the general fund then?
It would just be
Or is
added
it gonna,
to,
okay,
yeah, it would just be added to whatever our current policy is.
okay. Okay, because I mean, is there an increase, as George said, there's gonna be any more increase, or?
About our vehicle policy insurance?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
I don't.
because we'll need to, I mean, we'll have to check that out to make sure there's money in there. And what about, repair and maintenance? Is that gonna come out of commissary as well?
It could,
Okay.
or it could come out of I have a line item for repair and maintenance.
Repair, okay.
Yeah.
Is this a shared UTV or just solely for?
It's gonna be for the sheriff's
Fisherman.
office, but if somebody would need it for something,
Okay.
we would obviously let them use it, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But primarily parades and,
The hill climb, the mushroom hunt, the fair, you know, like when we had all these brush fires here a
Sure.
month ago, have been helpful for that, you know, lost kids, lost elderly
Okay.
people,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Any other questions?
What are the quotes?
I've got three. The best one was from Tommy B's outside Petersburg for the Kawasaki, and it was $17,600. The Can-Am and the Polaris were $4,000 or $5,000 higher. I must shop around a little more to see what kind of deals I can find.
He's pretty good usually.
Yeah, he had a pretty good price, and he was willing to work with me a little bit. So, yeah.
Who's the titles for sheriff's cars under? Commissioners?
Commissioners, yeah.
And they cover the insurance out of commissioners for all vehicles?
And then they ask us for the money to do it. I mean, the increases.
I have no
Anything
more
else?
questions. I appreciate the information.
Okay, yep.
Thanks for letting us
absolutely.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next up on new business, the prosecutor has asked for a few minutes of our time. Good
Just
evening,
back up
Bruce.
real quick. Is that,
we do.
I mean, he's clear, I don't mean to interrupt
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
That's a
he has the
purchase.
ability to like
Yeah.
purchase things out of the commissary without it being like.
Oh, I didn't know if he needed a vote or something.
No.
Okay. Apologize.
Good evening.
Good evening. I've got some things to pass out here. I'll, Rick, I'll just hand
We may have,
it to you.
we
And
may already have something, Bruce.
you do, yeah. Does everybody have
Yes.
that? So I kind of screwed up on this. I wanted this on the agenda for sure, this Axon. And the investigative thing's fine there too, but I really wanted to discuss Axon with you this evening. whether you can do anything on it tonight or not, I don't know technically whether it made the agenda or not. That's on me. So, but I will tell you a little bit about it. The Sheriff's Department, Clinton PD, Indiana State Police, I think basically all the agencies except maybe the towns have gone to a body cam car video system by a company called Axon, A-X-O-N. So that's how we get all of the videos. And I'm going to really simplify this because frankly, I don't understand the technical side of most of this. But right now, I think that, at least I have heard that there is perhaps a server issue in the county, that we're short on server space. My office bought a server. This probably predates all of you. Goes back maybe, gosh, I don't know, a dozen years or so. And then I think we paid like, I want to say like 10, 20 grand for the server that we were using. And then the county took that, of course we said sure, and I think used it to put other computer stuff on. So computer server memory is a big deal to us because, like, I don't know how much of it we have, but I would guess easily thousands of hours of body cam and in-car cam. I looked at one case, and I'm not going to tell you the name, but one case we have approximately 40 officers on scene one night. So when you get into the bigger cases, they've all got a body cam, they've all got an in-car cam, and then that all comes to us. And right now, our system with Axon, it's probably not this bad, but it's like getting in a Spanish video and trying to get it turned into English. I mean, they don't jive well together. They kind of fight each other. So we're having to download everything onto the county server and then manipulate all of that into desktops and then burn it again to produce it to Defense Counsel. So every body cam that we get in a filed case gets reproduced, sometimes multiple times, sometimes many multiple times, but all of that comes in has to be downloaded, has to be distributed onto our computers, and then it has to be sent out. So my understanding of this Axon program is that if we can get the Axon program in our office, it's going to, let's say you put it into use next Monday, that from then on, none of the body cam, none of the in-car cam, none of that is going to go on the county server. It goes to the cloud. That's part of the cost, and it is costly. Not as costly as the system was to begin with, but it's a cost. The positive is I can afford it with your permission, of course, and pay for it out of pretrial diversion. So I can afford it out of non-taxpayer money. It's not going to cost $1 of taxpayer money. I just have to have your permission to do it. I think it will benefit, I think it'll benefit everyone, frankly, but it'll certainly benefit the county. It's relative. I can't tell you how much server space we will save you, but if we were betting, I would bet you dinner that we use more server space. Take the Sheriff's Department out of the equation, we use more server space than probably all of the offices put together. That would be my guess. Okay, there's no question we use more of it than any other office in the courthouse. I don't, and I think second place would be miles back, simply because I don't know of another office that brings in as much video and audio and then has to do something with it. And right now it's on the server. So we can eliminate that. I think that's going to open up hopefully a lot of space on the server, at least going into the future. And like I said, I can pay for it. The commissioners have approved it. But of course, I told them the reality was I should have come to you first. I had it kind of out of order, you know, but if you had said, yeah, go ahead and do it, and then they said no.
It didn't matter.
So I don't know that
It's
it
like
really
what came
matters,
first, the chicken or the egg?
But the cost of it, they have I believe it's a 5-year program and a 10-year program. And I didn't even really pay attention to the 10-year program. It was more money. Probably on an annual basis, it would be less. But I have no idea where technology is going to be
And
6, 8, 10 years.
the body cameras are on 5 years too, correct?
I believe so,
So-
yeah.
so-
And I think maybe for the same reason. You know, 10 years from now, who knows where we're going to be. So I didn't even really listen to that. I didn't put, if that quote is in here, that was by accident. So I just wanted to focus on the 5-year, yeah. And the first year is more because there's like a $5,000 kicker in there for getting it set up and things like that. But
So do you need to pay the whole 5 years up front, or do you pay the first year and then those are the,
I would
since you're
be
guaranteed to
happy
pay the
to.
5?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how the sheriff's department is doing. I don't know that I can pay a future bill until that bill is due, you know.
I didn't know if that was part of the contract. Yeah, I didn't know if you had to pay all 5 years to get the discount.
I think I can pay, oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'll
Okay.
ask that. But if I was going to try to pay all 5 years, I'd certainly want, I gave Scott, Donnie, Scott has a copy of this. I would want to talk to, or have somebody talk to the State Board of Accounts to see whether I could even do that, you know? Like, I've got the money to pay all of it. You know, and I'd be happy to transfer that. If the SBOA said, yeah, it's fine, transfer it to the county and they could pay it, you know? But I don't know if I can pay for a future service. I just don't know the answer to that. Normally, the answer is no. I mean, I know that. Whether I can do it on this or not, I don't know.
Okay. We would just need an additional appropriation then for the pre-trial diversion.
I
Do
don't,
we?
no, I
No?
think I can cover it this year.
Oh, you
Yeah.
already have it in your,
Oh, you
Yeah,
already
oh,
have it
it's-
in there?
so I thought you
it's-
needed more money added into it.
No, I may, but
Okay.
right now I can cover it out of the investigative expenses.
Oh, okay.
I think I have enough in my line item
I misunderstood
for
that, sorry.
I may get back here in November and say, hey, I need an additional to cover something else. But right now, I think I can handle year one, and I certainly have enough money to handle the rest of the years. However, they need their money all at once or over 5 years.
Okay.
Is Axon what the sheriff's department uses? That's the equipment?
Yes.
And, yeah, well, I remember, I'm just making sure I got there were two, if I remember, two types of, or two brand names. I couldn't remember which one was the original.
Yeah, I forget the second one, Neil. I think you're right. I think there was another
I think it
one.
was like Terre Haute Police Department or something uses the other one, or,
Yeah,
well,
utility.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah, I just want something that talks to whatever they have. If they had utility, I'd be in here saying, hey, I don't want Axon, I want utility, but that's, I've forgotten their name.
So this may reduce server need in the future too,
Yeah.
on expense for, because I believe that's probably on the horizon, as was mentioned.
Absolutely.
It was mentioned
Yes.
at budget.
It will dramatically reduce whatever is going on there now. You're gonna take the person that's putting the most on it out of the equation.
Now, what's on there now, does it come off Or
I don't think so. I don't know how,
Probably have to leave it on for a period of years.
yeah, and of course, you know, these cases have a tail, you know, I mean, you've got, you know, 1,000 open cases, and then you got cases on appeal, so you don't,
Well, I just didn't know if it
Honestly.
transferred to your equipment. And
I don't know if there is a way to do that. And the problem with doing it would be someone would have to do it.
You'd have to
you know,
verify
and I
every
just-
single file.
And that's just way.
So it would be more of a future, if in the future IT looks at it and says, we don't need as much space as we once did, this is reduced costs on the new county server.
Right.
Okay.
And I think Axon said that they could do this like starting May 1. I think there's a pretty quick uptick to it if I can get it done. You know, at least that's what they said when we talked to them.
DJ, do we need a vote on that since he's gonna use money? Like, I mean,
I just wanted to be really transparent on the expense.
I appreciate
because
that.
It's a significant expense, you know, and so I didn't want you guys to hear about it and say, what are you doing there, you know? But we do have the money, thankfully.
we always appreciate the heads up.
Yeah, and it's pretrial diversion money. It's not tax money, which is a double positive. And so I think if you're in agreement, the commissioners are in agreement, then we'll go ahead and do that. And
Does anybody have any?
No,
I don't see it.
I think it's kind of necessary,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Sounds like it'll work out well.
I hope so. Two other things quickly. The investigator contract, I think, is kind of in the same spot as this. I've got the money to pay for it. I think I went to the commission because it is a contract to sign, and they said that's fine.
Okay.
So the third thing is I have a fund, and I don't know if you can do anything with this tonight because it certainly is not on the agenda. I have a fund called a drug forfeiture fund, and that is, and it's a bit complicated as to how the money comes to be. You have to have a drug arrest, you have to have it forfeited. You're taking it from the guy, the person who's convicted. And so in the larger drug cases, you sometimes, whether it's forfeit vehicles, cash, that's really the two main mechanisms. But we have outside counsel that handles that. We don't handle the forfeitures inside the office because I've just always, I mean, most states do, but I view it as maybe a bit of a conflict. So we have outside counsel to do that. We have right now, I think, of roughly $19,000 in that fund. It can only be used for, and I should have brought the list, but it's a pretty tight list, okay? One thing I would like to do with it is at least a portion of it. We're working with the sheriff's office on, I want to be careful with word choice here because it's an ongoing investigation involving drugs. But we need, the sheriff's department needs certain items. I'll put it that way. I have the money that can buy those items, which would prevent the sheriff's department from needing the money to buy those items, which would help in the ongoing investigation. So I would like to take, and I can do this for the May meeting if that's what really needs to happen as a transfer. But I'd like to take 10,000 out of the 19, and however the State Board of Accounts says to do it, transfer that to the Sheriff's Department to use on this particular project. As again, the forfeiture money, it's not tax money. There's limited things that I can do with it. The main, I think, goal of it is to be able to use it in a way to help you be successful on those type of cases and make it something where you're using money from drug cases to help drug cases. I think that's the probably easiest way to say it.
Would it be a transfer, since it's different funds?
Are you wanting to move the money to the sheriff's department budget, or do you just want to buy the things for the sheriff?
I think the things that need to be bought would be better to be bought by the sheriff, because I'm just not in that business, you know. I think I can do it, but I want to make sure that we're transparent, because the council has to be involved in how that money gets spent, okay?
Because we could do the additional and let you spend it out of there, but I think the transfer, since it's going from like one fund to the other fund,
You can do a fund-to-fund transfer.
can we move just a transfer, or do you have to do the resolution to transfer it?
Is this out of your, the one that you do at the end of the year that I would always get? It's not in the budget, it's not in the.
We don't
it's not in
typically
the WOW
budget it.
system.
Right.
It's,
I think you're right. I mean, when we get audited on it,
yeah,
the State Board of Accounts comes and it picks up a separate checkbook.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then they bring it back and it stays in the drawer, you know.
I would think you would be able to do this, we just have to get the directions and the ABCs and the, how
Well,
State Board of
we can
Accounts
figure out
tells
how to
us
get it
how to
Or
do
if
it.
it's something, Donnie, that you think, yeah, you guys ought to buy
Buy
it.
it. Because you could always just buy it at the
Yeah.
direction of, you know, the
Yeah.
sheriff's department could say.
Yeah.
You just pay the invoice.
Right,
Assuming it qualifies under whatever you can spend the money on, I don't,
Right.
because of course they'd have to follow those same rules. I don't, you couldn't circumvent that with just transferring it.
You think I should contact the SBOA and ask?
Probably wouldn't
I
hurt.
would.
If you want to, I mean, personally, I would just,
The easiest way
if what
is,
you're,
yeah.
you know, if what you're allowed to buy with the money, is what you want, then I would probably just buy it myself and give it to the sheriff's department,
Okay.
personally,
Mhm.
but.
Yeah. And I can
think
do
that
that.
would be
And
the easiest way.
I wish I could, you know, I feel like I'm, you know, telling you guys a riddle here, but I
Yeah, no,
just, I
it's
don't
okay.
want,
It's okay.
obviously, to say exactly how the money's gonna be spent.
But then we'll just do the additional on that, and so that way the money will be there, so you can spend it.
Okay.
Well, if it's in if it's in the fund and you
Right.
spend it out of the fund, all you have to do is when you do that report at the end of the year, you would just put those expenses in that
Yeah.
report.
Is it like the commissary fund where it
It's
doesn't
kind
require
of-
the additional
yes,
then?
Yes.
It's I think, kinda like that. It's just,
They changed the
I wanna
form
make
number, I can't
sure
remember
that,
what the
that I
number is.
have the
Yeah.
permission to spend it, so,
Yeah.
Because
because,
it's not one we use very often.
No.
yeah, it's not, I've never.
So he could just
you know,
receive the invoice, so
Yes.
the sheriff's department can order it, receive an invoice, he could hand it to him, he could pay the bill. 'Cause
Correct.
the-
Okay.
Right.
And then you keep
company
that,
doesn't
turn all
care
that
who
in
pays
at the
the
end of the
bill.
year. I can't remember what the number's called. I can't remember what it is, but yeah.
So as long as he has the permission to have an invoice in his office that has sheriff's name on it, that's
And then at the
fine.
end of the year, I imagine State Board of
Or-
Accounts looks over it like they do the
Right.
other one that doesn't have any invoices on it.
Yeah, or if like Donnie says, I buy it, and I say, here you go, Mike,
Use
and
it.
we make sure that we receipt that, you know, from us to him.
Either way,
Because-
I just don't see the need of moving the money
Right.
to the
Okay.
sheriff's department,
Yeah.
is what I was saying.
Right.
Well,
That'd be the,
It'll save
that'd be
us
the
time.
prosecutors
cleanest
still
way.
need some type of documentation for State Board of Accounts from
Right.
us.
He would have.
Well, you would have the invoice,
Mhm.
what was purchased.
I think mainly I need
Been
your
nothing-
permission.
Yeah, that's gonna say, does
Yeah,
he
of
need
course, the
any
additional appropriation.
resolution or whatever?
Does that fund require the additional?
Right, I don't know if it does or
I don't
not.
think
I
it
don't know
does.
what you have.
You can spend directly out of it.
So that might be what we need to clarify with the State Board of
Yeah.
Accounts, if you need the additional out of it, or if you can just go ahead and spend it with the approval of like, you know,
Yeah,
since you're in charge of it.
okay. So how do you want me to proceed? You want me to call State Board of Accounts, or?
It might be easier, just since
Okay.
you're more familiar with the
Sure.
fund.
Sure.
I mean, because I wouldn't know what to ask, but
What I'll do
That
is-
takes us out of the middle, and
Yeah.
then that way
Yeah.
you can tell them that, you know, there's some confidentiality here.
Right. Yeah, I'll.
and if they
be able to-
reply that you can just spend it, then you just stick that with the
Right, I'll do that.
The
and
documentation.
get an email or a letter from them,
Yeah.
you know, in case I get.
And if you
caught
need
in
us
the
to
head,
approve it,
it's
we
in the-
Yeah,
always
we
Yeah, we
can.
can do it.
I mean, we can always approve whatever they require us to, but
Okay. Yeah, I just wanna make sure that I've got your approval to do
Yeah.
that amount. I'm not saying it'll cost that amount, but I wanted it to be up
Right.
to that amount. And that is not a general fund,
Right.
so.
Have you been spending any of that money?
A little bit over the years, you know, and I feel comfortable saying, you know, how it's been spent in the past, and sometimes it has been used as undercover buy money, and for things that they need, you know, but, so, but we, like I said, it's a checkbook that we don't write checks out of, I mean, maybe 1 or 2 a year, so. Okay?
Yep.
All right.
thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. That is the end of our agenda tonight. Is there any public comment this evening? It looks like we have one. Hello.
Good evening. Hi there. My name is Patrice Dayton, and I'm here to introduce myself as the newest representative of Thrive West Central. Part of my job duties in my new role is to work with local government entities in the 7 counties that Thrive serves. So I wanted to tell you that I'm looking forward to working with you.
Welcome to Thrive.
Thank you so much. It is our hope to someday work with you in the very near future on a housing study, a market analysis for Vermilion County. It truly is, a market study truly is an economic gateway to wonderful opportunities economically in your wonderful community here. And also, it's a lot easier to get grants to pay for those new houses if you already have a plan in place. We would also love to see Vermilion County get transit service 5 days a week, up from your current 3 days a week with the Thrive Transportation Services. And finally, I wanted to invite you to our 2025 Thrive Housing Summit. It will be in Terre Haute, September 11th and 12th. I have saved the date invitations for you. You will be formally invited via email or snail mail. It will be September 11th and 12th at the Terre Haute Convention Center. It'll be a regional summit, so that means that folks from all 7 of our counties will be invited. It'll be realtors, developers, builders, lenders, and community leaders like you, all under one roof, learning about housing needs and housing opportunities in the region. So we hope to see you there.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time, and I'm also going to be giving you a business card so that if there's anything I can do for you in my new role, please don't hesitate to call on me. Any questions for me?
Is your job a new job, or are you replacing somebody?
It's a new job.
New job.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Glad to still have you in the community.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that date conflict with our,
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was asking these guys, may conflict with our
Budget hearings.
budget hearings, yeah.
Oh, shoot, I'm sorry to hear that.
What time?
In May.
What time is
May.
this?
It's an all-day event
All
on
day,
the
okay.
11th. This is just to save the date, so the formal time and things will come with
Okay.
the invitation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can just not have budget.
We can change it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Is there any other public comment tonight?
I think go to the order comments, as long as there's no one else.
Yeah.
On the vehicle insurance, do we need to update or verify or check or somehow audit the vehicle roll that we have for all vehicles? Who does that?
You mean the inventory list on it, basically?
Yeah, I mean, to make sure we're not paying for insurance on a vehicle that was auctioned or something of that nature.
I gave a list to Kylie to have her check the highway stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't given Mike one yet.
I think each department would probably have to check to see what's on there.
Just to make sure like a wrecked police car or something's not stuck on there and we're not aware
It
of
does.
I mean,
There's some
it
that
can
there's,
happen.
there's I just don't know why it's such a difficult task, but it is. It is.
So, I don't know, maybe it's something the commissioners can request each department head verify their existing fleet numbers and get that information to
Wouldn't hurt.
someone. And the other issue was on our previous discussion about NVH restricted money. I just did kind of like a little bit of research on my own. Huh?
I guess you can.
Well, there was, at least, there was a county in Indiana who transferred out of NVH restricted, but they had to pass an ordinance to do it, and it was because they didn't have any other need for the money. It was excess, for whatever reason. And they transferred it, but it did require an ordinance to do it. It was just a simple council vote. So maybe it's possible, but it seemed to be more complex than just doing something else.
Maybe a simpler answer.
Yeah.
If that's the,
Yeah.
Might be just easier to do an additional,
yeah.
Probably.
because I know
It's
there's
not
money in the
Yeah.
non-restricted. I know there's money.
I mean, if we have to go through an ordinance and everything and read that. And
It's a
then
lot
just-
quicker to write
easier.
up an additional for the
Yeah.
unrestricted.
And even then, I think it may have been a situation where, we still have need for it. So I think they had reached the end of the year where they said, yeah, we're just not gonna use it, and we're not there, so we can't really do that right now. We can't prove that we're not gonna spend any more out of it, so.
Well, at budget hearings, I know we had maxed out the unrestricted, but not every penny was spent in the unrestricted in 2024, so that still rolls into the fund. So we should have that amount of money to be able to do an additional if needed.
And again, I do urge the highway department to look at the rules for restricted use, because, for an example, cutting brush around a bridge is considered, you can use restricted for that. They specify, there's a very specific list of things you can do. Bridge maintenance is in there, but like snow,
If you're removing the brush for a specific
to
project,
preserve the bridge.
because they told me last year I got it out of there because they're like, no,
Now,
you can't
clearing
just-
trees, edges of roads, snow plowing, pothole patching, none of that counts. But again, it's a lengthy
It's
list.
tracking.
Semi-lengthy to look through, but not bad.
No.
It take 5 minutes to look at it, and it may help. And again, it's something they got to code on their timesheets, so.
As a representative of the solid waste, I know it was on the agenda for tonight, but we did have a solid waste cleanup days, Friday and Saturday, and I will just say it was very successful. Eric, we'll probably give you guys an update here in the near future, but I just wanted to say it was very, very successful. A lot of employees and work was, performed, and anyway, I look forward to them sharing some more information with you guys on that. But it was a good event.
Good to hear. Okay. Any other comments this evening?
I was just thinking internal controls. I would like just to see, because solid waste just went through an audit. I don't think had been audited for quite some time, and there was some. I'll just say a few things with internal controls that we kind of approved some policies today. Might not hurt us just to kind of review our internal controls, or what internal controls do we have. So just bring that up.
Okay.
There was 3 or 4 different policies that we approved through that, and it just got myself kind of thinking about, just the bigger picture. So might not hurt to kind of review those.
Not a bad idea. Anything else? All right. None from the public? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion made.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Meeting's adjourned.
Only the ordinance.